Call of Duty Black Ops was released on November 9th, 2010. Set in the era of the Cold War in Vietnam, Black Ops immersed you in some of the most noteworthy moments of the 20th century. This game was the fourth title produced by in-studio developer Treyarch and came subsequent to the blockbuster Modern Warfare 2. Previous titles had seen much success by studio writers bridging the gap between compelling fiction and real-world events. Call of Duty 4 felt surreal as a kid, as it offered a sheltered look into the then-current Middle Eastern affairs dominated by the news at the time. Black Ops would take bridging the gap one step further with their use of real-life characters in their stories. JFK, Nixon, Castro, and even Robert McNamara, who served the U.S. as the Secretary of Defense from 1961 to 1968. Seeing these iconic figures from history I had learned about in school captured my attention and brought me to a new level of immersion. Not to mention, you get to play as the former president defending the Pentagon from zombies. And while we're on the topic, this game had what some would consider the best era of zombies. Treyarch took the foundation they began to build in World at War and only improved upon it, giving us a polished standard of which all future iterations would follow. Maps like Call of the Dead and Moon introduced a new way of storytelling that would involve players completing intricate Easter eggs. I mean, I can't tell you how many late nights I spent with friends going for high rounds on Kino or trying to do the Moon Easter egg, which ended in you blowing up the earth. While Treyarch would continue to carry the torch of the ever-evolving Call of Duty footprint left behind by Infinity Ward, we would see some new and creative additions with Black Ops multiplayer. While we had our familiar create a class system, this time we would see the introduction of COD points, an in-game monetary system that would give players currency for winning matches and completing contracts. Once you unlocked a weapon or attachment, you would then have to use your COD points to gain access to it. We'd see the first implementation of a theater mode and custom emblems. We were also granted an equipment slot that would let you use a CCTV camera, and there was a somewhat useless but very cool option for face paint. This game was packed with memorable multiplayer maps, some of which, for the first time, allowed players to interact with their surroundings, making the game feel so much more alive. We would see first iterations of maps like Firing Range and Nuketown, which would make a continuous return in CODs to come. With all the niche details, it really felt like the developers were having a good time when making this game. Black Ops had such a specific feeling, it's hard for me to explain, and I don't think it can be easily chalked up to its setting or gritty graphics. I think it comes down to time and place. When this game released, I was in the 6th grade. My life consisted of going to school and then coming home to game with friends. I wasn't all that into sports, and besides the occasional band concert, my evenings were carved out for gaming. I've had these feelings for this game for a while, and I've always wondered if it's as potent for anyone else. When I think back to late nights playing custom matches on Array or struggling to get to round 10 on Kino, it always feels like it was in a separate lifetime. This game came out in 2010. And I almost cringe at the fact that that was 14 years ago. 14 years on paper is a long time, but these memories feel like it was just last weekend I was loading this game up to a populated player base, getting a match instantly and grinding prestiges. The funny thing is as much as I loved this game, I wouldn't even say it's my favorite. I easily have double the hours on a game like Black Ops 2 and triple the hours on Counter-Strike. But for some reason, I just don't have the same feelings about those games like I do with Black Ops. I talked about time and place earlier, and I think that's the key. We as human beings have a lust for nostalgia. It's known that when people go through a breakup, one of the first stages in the grieving process is looking back on the relationship with rose-tinted glasses. You forget about all of the arguments and struggle that led to the separation and can only focus on the good times, leaving you in a state of confusion and despair, not allowing yourself to fully see the whole picture. It's not that Black Ops was the best game to ever come out. It was that Black Ops was the good times for a lot of us. Growing up, I would always hear older people talk about how great everything used to be. You know the classic back in my day saying. According to the adults in my life growing up, when they were my age, the music was better, the movies were better, heck, the food was better. I never felt like I could relate to that until I started getting older myself. Now I get it. Nowadays, games are plagued with microtransactions, and the market is full of studios that think it's okay to release a game unfinished. I see kids buying the same 2K game for $70 every single year. I see newer CODs not waste a single second after release to put obnoxious cosmetics behind a paywall. The games don't feel like the developers were having fun. They feel like a well-crafted scheme to drain the pockets of TikTok kids. I don't even know if a game like Black Ops as is would be successful today. Compared to newer FPSs, it's slow, clunky, and doesn't even feature a battle pass. It's the same argument as, would the Beatles be the Beatles if Sgt. Pepper's released today? Has technology reduced our attention span to the point where listening to a full-length record feels more like a chore? Are first-person shooters like Counter-Strike that don't allow you to run at lightning speed and slide all over the place doomed to be buried with my generation? And with that whole rant, I really feel like I've aged myself, but here I am thinking that phrase I'd always struggled so hard to relate with. Back in my day. Black Ops, the games that came out around the time of Black Ops, the 2010s in general will always be a soft spot for me. Growing up is hard, and I genuinely feel blessed that we had games like these to get us through that period of life. As time moves on, the moments we feel most nostalgic for are the moments we thought would never change.